Hello and welcome to another episode of Leeds United Latest on the West Yorkshire Football Show. I'm Stephen Brown and joining me back together, reunited, it is Jason Booker. Jason, how are you doing, mate?
Unfamiliar surroundings, mate. I'm not sure whether I'm shouting. I've not got a mic. I'm doing it on a propped up phone. The life of no internet is absolutely killing me. back to normal on Friday after the house move. So yeah, we're making the best of it, mate.
Yeah, good stuff. I did mention to Jay before we started that I was getting flashbacks just seeing the layout of your camera to when Leeds had a bit of a miserable time against Liverpool a couple of years ago in the Premier League, and you were in a hotel, I think, that night and doing it on your phone. And there was all sorts going on that night, wasn't there? With fire alarms in the hotel, and it was just absolute bedlam.
It was carnage, mate. Carnage.
But we're here, we're live across Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Get your comments in, like the video, make sure you're subscribing to the channel and following the pages. So lots to get into, Jason. We've got loads to talk about. We didn't do an episode last week, but I made sure I had a chat with Tom Cardiff, friend of the show. It's nice for me to chat to someone who's pretty reasonable and keeps me calm during the transfer window. But yeah, loads going on, Jason. I mean, it's been a busy week so far. Gabriel Gudmundsson has made his move to Leeds United. That's done. That's official. We thought it might happen at the weekend, but it's obviously run over a couple of days. But he's in the building, and it's really hotting up now, isn't it, Jason? We're starting to see these transfers move. We did kind of ask the question last week. Are things moving a little bit slow at that point? I think we'd had 3 players in at that point, only one probable starter. And you kind of were looking at it a week ago. I was thinking, because I was texting a few people and we're all getting a little bit kind of squiffy about are we moving fast enough? You've got Sunderland, nicking our targets, all this kind of thing going on. But I think flash forward 7 days, it really feels like we're starting to put together a squad that can cope in the Premier League. But kind of your kind of reaction to Gudmundsson getting over the line, a left back, Jason, and a brand new shiny left back, obviously one of the vital positions we needed to fill.
Yeah, I mean, just firstly, quickly on the transfers in general, I think we're a week into the window, really, aren't we? And it wouldn't be Leeds fans if we weren't getting a little bit flappy. And I think that's been kind of exasperated by the fact that we also had 2 of us clearly main targets. Yeah. We missed out on them, but not only did we miss out on them, they ended up going to one of us direct rivals for survival in Sunderland, in Diarra and Siddiqui. So I think that all of that together has kind of combined into the way that we've maybe been feeling, and the panic setting in maybe a little bit earlier than expected. So I get it. But I'm not overly concerned at the moment. Transfers happen and don't happen all the time that we don't hear about and we don't know about. There could be others that we have missed out on that would have been before them 2 as options for all we know, and we've just not heard about them. So I'm not getting too hung up on the facts, if I'm honest. Gudmundsson, super excited by him. He's for me, and it's easy to say this now that Junior's gone, but is an improvement on Junior as an all-round player. I think going forward and defensively he's better. I think he's quicker, he's stronger, he's more able on his right foot. He is definitely better defensively. He's got the basics of defending to a high level in the top flight, in Ligue 1 for a number of seasons. He's a Swedish international. Everything kind of points towards that being a really smart transfer. And again, another player that I think we've probably stole a march on that would have been capable of playing for anybody else in the bottom half of the Premier League. If they were after a left back, I think he'd be a really viable option for any of them. The fee involved, 10 to 12 million, it's a bit of a bargain, really. Considering the transfer fees that we're seeing flying around for certain players, it again fills a vital area of the pitch for us with a starting berth position for 10, 12 million quid. Once you break that down over PSR, it's 2 million quid a year. It's nothing. So, yeah, I mean, we can obviously speak about it more specifically, but as an overall all-round signing, mate, I'm really, really happy with it. I think it's a really good one.
Yeah, and I think that takes our kind of summer spending so far up to about 30 million, and you're looking at, we've really kind of rebuilt the defence or added to it. You've got 4 quality centre backs in there now. You've got Bijol, obviously, who's kind of probably the standout signing so far. And it feels like we're really comfortable in that area now. Now we've got the left back. We pretty much know what that defensive line is going to be. Obviously, we're looking at a keeper as well. We will get into all that as well, but it's one of those as well. I mean, you're looking at the money we've spent, and if this works, because what it feels like to me, what we're starting to kind of see a picture of is, and what the 49ers have done really since they took full control is, these clever deals, getting players in the last year of their contracts and this kind of thing. And, you look at Metcher and on a free and these kind of moves. And if these pull off, if these work, I mean, it's just fantastic wheeling and dealing, really. Because, I mean, obviously, when you hear about the kind of fees mentioned, we all know about how it went in the Premier League last time, and you look at Robin Koch, you look at Llorente, you look at Rasmus, you look at these guys that we signed for between 10 and 20 million, and it pretty much just didn't work at all. I hope it looks to me like they've learned the lesson, because when you look at our defence last time we came up, and it was, you can't believe it really how poor it was. And if this works, this transfer strategy, Jason, I mean, it's just so clever, isn't it? And hopefully it will work.
Yeah, I mean, it was widely publicised, wasn't it, that we will spend big down the spine of the team. Bijol, I think, was probably part of that. A centre midfielder and then a striker along with the goalkeeper. So what we have done in being shrewd in the signing so far is give ourselves plenty of wiggle room in them other positions. But now, 6 million quid, we've covered that with basically the loan of Verba. Bijol, big interest in him, 15 million quid, it's nothing really. 10 to 12 million for Gudmundsson, again, like I say, a bargain. And Metcher for a free. And again, I think it's really apparent the profile of the players that we're looking at, established top flight players in and around 26, 27 that are not. They're not youngsters that need blooding in, that are going to make loads of mistakes. They're still experienced pros at 26, 27 that should have enough behind them to call upon to do the job at hand. But they're not too old that you then can't get some resale value on them if they come in and have 2 or 3 good seasons, or they sign a new contract and they stay towards the back end of their careers. So I just think it's very, very clear the direction that we're going in terms of the way that we're structuring these signings. Like I say, I think it leaves us loads open to then spend somewhere else on the pitch. And the positions that we've still got open, and I'd be interested to know your kind of take on the 10 chat, because the more this window goes on, the more I don't think we sign a 10. And we'll get to my reasons as to why. But it does leave the money available in them really key areas where you do need to spend 25, 30 million quid to recruit the quality that you need. Look at the Mooney's fee that we've been quoted. I mean, it wasn't even a starting first choice number 9, and we've been quoted 40, 50 million quid. It's unbelievable, really. So, and that's the money that you need available to go and recruit in them positions. So I think some fans are upset because we've not gone and splashed loads of cash, but it only makes sense if it's worth the value that it's worth. We signed Rafinha for 16, 17 million quid, yet we then spent 30 million on Rodrigo, and it made no difference to it didn't represent, did it, for the value that we got out of the 2 players, is my point. So Brendan Aronson, another one who, I were praising him and making sure I were defending him last season, but it was never worth 25, 30 million quid that we paid for him. No. So, we have to be clever. There's no point as just frittering money away. Sunderland have made the bold decisions, and they've got more PSR wiggle room than we do, but they've made the bold decisions to spend the money that they have on Diarra, Siddiqui and Enzo Lafi. They've spent 75 million quid on them 3. That's wild. Especially for Siddiqui, who there's no proof that he can do it at the top flight. I mean, he's been playing in the Belgian league. That's a real gamble. I think Enzo Lafi, based on what we saw in the Championship last season, I mean, they were obligated to pay that once they got promoted. I think that's a big, big chunk as well. So and they have more business that they need to do. So I don't think we're in a bad position at the moment. I've just seen that they've signed Ronaldo today from Atletico, the defender as well. Again, mad experience in the top flight. It shows that they are really going to give it a good go. I think it's a totally different pond than what Ipswich were recruiting in 12 months ago. So, as you know, I'd say that they are
all that kind of stuff, wasn't it? It was just top end championship players, wasn't it? Really,
So they're going to give it a real go, mate, by the looks of it. But like I said, they had a lot of work to do, and they still do have a lot of work to do. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's going to be competitive.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fascinating. Just as Gavin says here, minimum height 6'4". Yeah, indeed. Evening, Gav. Yeah, I mean, just in terms of, and you made loads of good points that I want to come back to on that, but just in terms of the profile of players that we're looking at the moment, and as Gav has mentioned there about a size profile, but the age thing, I think as well that you've hit on, all 26 years of age, the signings we've made so far, and I think there's a real purpose to that. I always remember, I think it was probably the second or third year in the Premier League last time Phil Hay did a kind of research article into the average age of squads and teams that were successful in the Premier League, and a lot of teams had kind of the age group between like 24 to say 30. That's where your kind of your physical prowess, your technical ability, your mental game all kind of combines, doesn't it, at that age? It all kind of fits together, you would think. And we had nobody in that prime age. We only had Calvin Phillips, who was like 26 at the time or something. In that kind of ballpark, we had no one else. We were either like stupidly young or, slightly over the hill. And it was like we didn't have anyone in that kind of data age. So I don't think it's any coincidence that we've seen this kind of age profile as well, and good experience on all the players have played in good leagues, and it'll be really interesting to see if that comes through. But it definitely feels like there's something to that, doesn't it? Absolutely. And just the point you make about the Sunderland and the business they're doing. I mean, I put it in the group the other day. I've gone on an early prediction that 2 teams stay up that have been promoted. I really think that with back-to-back, promoted teams getting relegated 2 seasons on the trot, the big kind of blaring message to the promoted teams this year is it's not a simple case of, going up and kind of edging your bets. And, prime example, what you said about Ipswich, I think people were looking at them at the start of last season. Oh, they've got Schmodix and, they've Jack Clark, wow, this is really savvy business. It just didn't work at all. And I think it's a real kick up the arse to the promoted teams saying, look, if you're going to survive, you're going to have to really go for it. And I think, Sunderland, their recruitment policy has been top class, in terms of what they've done with this youth recruitment and things. I mean, the Premier League can swallow you up, though, if you're 20, 21 years of age coming over at the Premier League. If you have a few bad games, it can get really, really difficult. We saw that last time when we had, a ridiculous bench, a bench full of kids. It's like you're turning going, right, who can get us out of this situation? And it was like one extreme to the other. It was either looking at like Archie Gray at 16 or Adam Forshaw at 33. It was like, we've got no in between here. But yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating battle. I've seen a lot of predictions where people are just kind of a bit lazily, I would say, saying, oh, the promoted teams will just go straight back down. I don't see it being that cut and dry this season. I mean, I get it as, what Johnny's talking about here. The problem I can see is that one of the existing Premier League teams who are weak enough to get relegated. But I just think it's going to be a lot more competitive at the bottom end of the league this year. I could be completely wrong. We could all be relegated by December, but I just feel like Leeds have clearly been preparing for this moment for the minute we got relegated from the Premier League.
I mean, I don't agree with John's comment there at all. I think we've been a little bit almost like gaslit as football fans to think that the kind of standard is what has happened over the last 2 seasons. I've spoke about this on several shows now. Like, the last 2 seasons cannot be a barometer for what the promoted clubs can hope to experience.
Yeah.
Like, as long as the Premier League's been around, there's usually 1 or 2 teams that go straight back down. It isn't that uncommon. But over the last 2 seasons, obviously the 3 promoted have gone straight back down, but all 6 of them have had extenuating circumstances. Luton and Ipswich were both League One sides that shouldn't have been anywhere near the Premier League. That was the first off. Southampton and Leicester were both basket cases that were basically, you know, they might as well have been points behind right from the word go, with the ownerships and the management changes and the recruitment that they both did. You know, terrible planning. Burnley and Sheffield United the season before, Heckingbottom, then Wilder, and the problems at the upper echelons of that club. Burnley went through a sale of the club and got relegated. You know, so I just don't think that they are the barometer that we should then be thinking as now recently promoted clubs, right, okay, God, this is going to be so difficult. And then to look at the Premier League as it is now, sure, you could argue that the gap's getting bigger, but I would also then push back and say, well, let's have a look at some of these clubs. Brentford going through huge transition, Bournemouth losing, you know, several key players. At some point, the manager there is going to move on. I look at Crystal Palace. Can they progress and keep on pushing on in the way that they have under Glasner with European football? They're going to struggle with that. I look at Forest. Wolves, I mean, I'm getting to Wolves, absolutely. Wolves have got, you know, they've lost key players in key positions, and they're a bit of a basket case as well and can't really spend. You know, Forest, at some point, Marinakis and the way that he runs his club it's gonna crumble, because it only takes 4 or 5 games without a win. They sack Nuno, and before you know it, they start spiralling. So I'm not this kind of cut and dry, and I could be wrong, I could be totally wrong, but I'm not this cut and dry kind of attitude that the Premier League's this closed book and they can all just pack up and go home. And, you know, most would expect Manchester United and Spurs to be better, which will then take more points off the teams at the bottom. You know, that there'll be more of a concertina effect for the teams that usually would be in and around that area of the division. I was speaking to the guys at the weekend when I saw them at Avenue, and for me, I think success this season is just being in and around the, you know, safety come the last game of the season. Right now, if we can take that, I mean, obviously I would want better, but if right now you offered to me it'd be in your hands going into game 38, but you'd still have an opportunity to go down, I'd take it. You know, like, that needs to be the holy grail for all 3 of us. But all 3 are making really, really strong moves. And I'm telling you, I agree with you. I think we'll all surprise some of the Premier League teams this season. And I would not be surprised to see one of them get caught out, even maybe 2. Because look at Burnley as well. Burnley are making some moves. I mean, I think Kyle Walker's a mad signing, really. It's almost Football Manager-like, and, you know, but it's a statement. You know, has he got what he used to have? No, but he's still an unbelievably experienced fullback that, you know, knows everything. Is a winner, mentality monster. You know, played for AC Milan most recently and Manchester City, won countless titles. I think he goes in there and he elevates everybody around him, you know, 10-20%. So, yeah, it's a massive coup. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting season down at the bottom.
Yeah, I think so. And it's funny, actually, because Man United, you know, and you said you fancy them to struggle again this season. I think you're absolutely bang on. They can't attract anyone they want to. So, I mean, it's funny, actually, because it came up on my YouTube. Mark Goldbridge, who does the United Stand, obviously Man United fan and all that kind of thing. Check out his latest video, what he thinks of the situation. You can't really disagree with it. They are buggered. They don't have the Champions League money. Players like Gyökeres don't want to sign for them because they're not in the Champions League. I think they're on a hiding to nothing. I think they'll really struggle this season because they just simply cannot churn the squad. They can't churn the squad out and get that fresh blood in. So I'm hoping that they really struggle this season. And if it's a competitive bottom 3, if it's a fight, honestly, they could be in serious danger because they got away with it. They were so lucky last year that the bottom 3 were just so pathetic that they could survive. But honestly,
Spurs and Manchester United would have very, very likely have gone down if the 3 that are in it this season were in it last season. I really, really believe that. Really believe it, because the bottom 3 were pathetic. it was hung. I think I worked it out for us one point. The total that Spurs finished on in 17th was enough to keep them up from, I think it was the 6th of February.
Yeah. Which is
that's pathetic. It's pathetic, you know, and that is testament to how bad them three teams were. And, you know, people say Ipswich represented themselves well. I'm not so sure, but I think at the same time they shouldn't have been where they were. You know, they were still a League One team. They were still lining up with Connor Chaplin and Sam Morsey, and you know, some of these, like, they're not even Championship players at this stage of their careers. So, you know, to ask them to be competitive week in, week out at Premier League levels, it's just impossible. You know, some of the players, I mean, they started the season off with the lad that ended up going to Derby, who were mugging us off, the Bradford lad.
Oh my God!
Forget his name. And the lad that's just signed for Huddersfield, they both ended up going to Derby. I mean, and now they're both going to be in and around either the bottom of the Championship or League One. You know what I mean? So yeah, it just shows really that what they were going to be capable of was just going to be nowhere near the level that they needed to be. So yeah, just coming back to Manchester United, I think they're in a real hole. As you say, they can't churn the players. They can't offload some of the players that they've got that they desperately want to get out the door, which then kind of forces them to have to play them. You know, and the ones that they can get rid of, people don't want to pay the price that they want so they can spend the money, likes of Garnacho and Rashford. And it's just kind of leaving this paradox problem that they can't get themselves out of. I mean, they've signed Cunha. Cunha alone is not going to improve. Well, I don't think he improves them. I think he keeps them exactly where Wolves were last season. So, it's an interesting one, real interesting one.
Well, also this idea that they've signed this guy he's got his tactical style and he just sticks to it no matter what. And I'm like, it drives me nuts, does this? Because it's like, when does pragmatism come into it and go, okay, I simply haven't got the players to do that. And this is somehow like praised as like, you know, there's got to be a line where it's just stupidity. You know, it's just stupidity. Look at what you've got. What can you do with it? You know, it's laughable, really. It's absolutely laughable. And if he has a bad start, he will be gone. And then there'll be real trouble then. Just a bit of comeback from John here. I hope you guys are right. I'm looking at the financial reality and the existing teams can spend more. I know that does not mean they are spending well, but it gives them a distinct advantage. Yeah, but I think there's a few teams that just can't spend though, can they? I mean,
there is.
You know,
Brownie, look at Everton. I mean, I think Everton will be absolutely fine. You know, under Moyes and with the probably the backbone of what they'll be able to keep, I think they'll be fine. But considering the amount of work that they need to do, they've done nothing. And all they are doing is losing players on freeze. They're just losing the bulk of their... I think they had 8 or 9 out of contract, plus the loans that they've not renegotiated, Jack Harrison being one of them. And it's a little bit of a madness what's going on there. I mean, I cannot believe that they've not been more active. I thought that, well, I'm sure that they would have hoped to have been, but like you say, they can't. They cannot go and do it because they've not got the available PSR given the stadium change and on the terrible recruitment for years. You know, as good as David Moyes is, if he's having to tackle this season with what they've got and kids, they're in real trouble. I mean, they've just signed Michael Keane on a year's deal. I'm not sure that he plays for any other Premier League club at centre back. I think now if we were going to get another move, he'd be going to the top of Championship. Yeah. So it's crazy.
Well, they're also on about even Jack Harrison's rumoured. Like, there's a thing going on Twitter today that they might actually end up taking him back. He's just like, I mean, that's desperate times, is that, after the numbers he's put up for the last 2 years for them, if they end up signing back. But like you say, if there's just nobody else that they can really get in and manoeuvre. I mean, obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin's left and all that kind of thing. I know they're on about a striker out there coming in, but yeah, it's a mess. By the way, can I just say, CB here, evening guys, is that Jay or his younger brother?
Do I look a little bit younger today? It's just the camera.
You're going to be on the phone permanently now, aren't you? That's it.
That's
He's
it,
got a
mate.
filter on. He's got a filter on, guys. That's
I am, I swear. Just before you move on, Brownie, don't you think DCL's a weird one? Like, I mean, Manchester United are obviously, they should be shopping in a market where they are competitive for a Gyökeres, and Gyökeres is going to go to Arsenal, and Manchester United are scrapping around for Dominic Calvert-Lewin on a free transfer, and it looks like they're going to get beaten to him by Newcastle. It's just hilarious.
We would have just prayed for these days when we were back at school. Like, I would have just given anything. CB, Russell Martin said he regrets not signing more physical players last season. That's just what Leeds are doing. Yeah, he did. He did say that. And certainly, by all accounts, Leeds recruitment team, data analysts, they've all been studying the best way you can try and survive in the Premier League. I just want to get into just something that's kind of come into my kind of mind as well, in terms of the flexibility and pragmatism. And you look at how Leeds set up last year, we both enjoyed the style of play last season and how attractive it was. Has Farke got it in his locker to be able to play a different style? Do you think he's going to be able to kind of utilise, because it's going to lead into the number 10 debate. Are we even going to have that kind of thing in our team this year? I mean, it's going to be tricky, isn't it? Because I'm guessing he's kind of played a similar style throughout his career, but it's kind of a unique challenge next season, isn't it? We're not going to be possession heavy, you would think. With you look at someone like Bijol, he's not a high line defender. He ain't got the pace for a high line. And it all points to the fact that we're going to be low blocking it. Do you kind of think Farke's got that in the locker to kind of be able to kind of put out a team that can do that? I mean, what dictates it? Is it you look at your squad and go, okay, we're going to have to play this way for the type of players we are? I'm just intrigued, really. If we're recruiting for a certain kind of tactical model or what we think the games are going to play out, is Farke going to be able to deliver that? Considering, I mean, I thought we were fantastic at times last season, really attractive and everything, but this could look totally different this season. Yeah,
I mean, the recruitment so far would point towards that'd be the case. Like, I think we've got players that can hurt teams in transition. I think I like Ramazani, Dan James, Willie Gnonto, Brendan Aronson even, Joe Perreault with the odd opportunity, but in terms of that pace, Jayden Bogle, now Gudmundsson down the other side. I think the physical presence of the boys at the back that we've brought in, both very, very good in the air. I'm not saying that we're going to start just playing for set pieces, but one of the notes that I wrote down for Gudmundsson was that he wins a lot of free kicks. He wins a lot of fouls in the way that he plays and carries the ball down the left-hand side. I do think that we'll look to utilise the delivery into the box. Mecha, Bornau and Biol are all extremely good in the air. I don't think that that's a coincidence that we've looked to recruit some players that can be a bit more capable in the air. I mean, outside of Pascal Struijk, we literally have no aerial presence whatsoever. None. It's pathetic, actually. It's been so bad, the amount of headed goals that we've scored. Literally, it's Pascal and that's it. Joe Rodon's got a right 50p head. He just can't do it for whatever reason. So, I don't think that that's a coincidence at all. And I think, again, looking at the profile of the centre-backs that we signed, you would imagine that they'll be sitting deeper than we have been doing in the Championship. And I think that that's wise. Can Daniel Farke do it? Time will only can tell. I mean, all we can really go off is what he did between season 1 and season 2. I think anybody that doesn't understand that there was a difference between season 1 and season 2 doesn't understand football. It was very, very different. Well, no, that's dramatic. It wasn't very, very different, but it was notably different to me. The way that we played in season 2 in comparison to season 1, we were far more vertical up and down the sides of the pitch. We went down the right and the left bar far more regularly in balance rather than being heavily determined through Somerville, which we were the season before. We didn't look to drop the 9 into spaces in the attacking midfield role as much in season 2 as we did in season 1. The way that I thought the pace in which we moved the ball in season 2 was much quicker. because we had the players to be able to do that in the likes of Tanaka, whereas Glenn Kamara wanted too much time on the ball at times. He wanted to dictate pace.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he's got the capabilities of being able to change within the 4-2-3-1 structure. The question that we're going to have to see answered is, at the moment, it's looking as if, can he change to a 4-5-1? I am getting, because we've not been linked to any 10s, apart from a little bit of a laser link with Buendia, and I think that was only because it was easy, because of the Norwich links, and we went for him in January and all the rest of it. We haven't been linked with any, and I would have thought, given the necessity to sign somebody in that position, that would have been one of the first to get done, but it hasn't. So unless one comes out of nowhere now that we've made these other ones, and we get an out-and-out 10 in, I can see the midfield looking very, very different, in that it'll be between Ampadu, Tanaka, Gruev. Longstaff looks like he's going to be one, which we might get on to talking specifically about. But again, he's not a 10, he's an 8. Can do a bit of both, but he's going to be in that contention for one of the 3 spots. And then another, I think we'll sign another one. And again, I'm basing this based on the Diarra and Sadiq links. Neither of them were really a 10.
No.
So, and I do think we probably would have signed them both. So, you know, the other lad from the Bundesliga looks like he might be the start. He might be the other one on top of Longstaff. So I think Brendan might be in the equation for the conversation of playing one of them centre midfield spots, maybe coming on and affecting the game in the 10, or maybe even playing out wide. I think he'll be in and around the squad, and I think he'll make an impact next season, in my opinion. I really do, but I think it should be from the bench or sparingly. And I think he'll go into one of the considerations of one of them 3 roles. And I think it's smart, because as much as I like Tanaka and Ampadu at Championship level, I think they get eaten alive at Premier League level as a 2. They wouldn't be able to deal with, like the example that I've seen kind of banded about is the midfield 3 for Newcastle. Tonali, Gomeres and Jolinton. Imagine Tanaka and Ampadu coming up against them 3. They'll just get absolutely mullered. So you have to put another body in there to be competitive. So the way that I'm seeing it at the moment, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, indeed. Some great comments coming in as well, guys. If you can like the video as well, that'd be much appreciated. Andy, we will be more of a 4-3-3 and try to hit teams on the counter. Midfield will be a holding player and 2 more. Gavin, I like this one as well. Imagine if we score from corners. Yeah, absolutely. It does raise a good, interesting point here, though. Does Simon, any idea as to who will be able to deliver quality balls into the box for our big men without a number 10? Well, I mean, who we're looking at? I mean, if we sign a winger, possibly, then if you get someone with a good delivery, then that's sorted out. Because I looking at it, I think you bang on about the number 10. I think it looks as if it's just not going to happen, and it doesn't really kind of fit with what your challenge is in the league. And it's just interesting how that's all gone quiet. And again, that's a further test for Farker, isn't it? Who was always kind of, played with that kind of role. But yeah, I mean, in terms of delivery, I mean, we've had problems with like that for years as well, apart from Rothwell, really, isn't it? Who actually come in and could deliver a ball. But again, that's something we'll be looking for, won't we?
It would be nice to have a specialist set piece taker. I would say that. I mean, in terms of from the wings, obviously you're looking at the likes of Dan James, Ramazani, Nonto to all step up. I really think Dan James will have a big season for us. I think he'll be key, and then another that we'll hopefully sign. I think in terms of I think it's a really, really good point in terms of the set piece delivery. I'm not sure if that would be a role that Gudmundsson could take. I know his delivery from the wings is good. But yeah, it might have to be something that we look to recruit, but it's difficult to recruit around that. You know what I mean? Like, teams very rarely would recruit somebody that would just be a specialist set piece taker just because that's what they're good at. James Ward-Prowse has kind of had this problem, hasn't he, in his career? Like, that's why nobody wanted him, because he weren't good at anything else. Like, that's a bit, yeah. Get Sam Greenwood in. Like, if you could bring somebody on off the bench just to take him, that'd be good. But yeah, it is a really, really good point, because we're making the assumption that we're going to be more dangerous from set pieces without then a set piece taker to take them. last season it was Solomon when Rothwell wasn't on the pitch, and it was Rothwell if he was, and neither of them are going to be with us. So it is a really, really good point. Really good point.
Yeah, because you kind of look at a number 10 as well, don't you? I mean, Aronson doesn't fit that kind of number 10, but generally number 10, you get the idea of technically good, set pieces, that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Someone who can kind of hit the ball on a sixpence, that's kind of what you picture. And without that, it will be interesting to see.
Jack Harrison?
Oh, God, no, please.
I mean, he did used to take him, didn't
he? Yeah. What was his rate like? Was it? I mean, he can whip a ball in, can't he?
He can whip a ball in. We are getting to the point now where we're potentially going to see Jack Harrison back in a Leeds shirt. Like, I was very adamant that it wouldn't happen once upon a time, and my gut instinct still says that something will get done there, because I don't think he'll want to step back through the doors. I don't think he's got the capacity. I don't think he's got the heart to walk back onto Ellen Road, given all that's gone on. He's not made of the same stuff as some of the others. No. Some of the others just don't care. Brendan, I genuinely think, did it with heart. And like I said, some of them just didn't care. Like, I don't think it bothered Max Weber at all. I don't think he cared what anybody thought. Whereas I think Jack Harrison would crumble. I think he'd just go to bits. So I don't see it happening. I think he'll be absolutely desperate to get out of the door. But pre-season started now. I'm guessing he's back.
Mentioned on Twitter, they were like, "Oh, is it any photos of Jack Harrison yet?"
Well, he's going to have to be back in the building, isn't he? Because he hasn't gone off anywhere for the summer. So unless Leeds have said to him, "Don't you come back through the doors? We don't want you." Don't even turn up to training. He'll be there because he's going to have to get ready for the season, isn't he? So it's an interest, and
it's going to be fascinating.
Say again.
It's going to be fascinating with Jack Harrison. It really is.
Well, I mean, we need another left-sided player.
Yeah, we do.
Does it make sense to keep him?
The problem is, for me, it's like his numbers have been absolutely terrible. If it wasn't Jack Harrison and it was just whoever, even if it was a free, I'd be like, I don't want this guy. He's terrible, absolutely terrible. Now, does he raise the floor? Is he a floor raiser in terms of, is it a squad? The problem for me is, I just think it's untenable. I just don't think he can be at this football club because of everything. Because what I got reminded of the other day was what he did. You remember when we went down and we could only loan out 6 people, and all of a sudden you had a panic on because everyone were trying to get out because there was just a certain number of slots. And Jack Harrison was basically injured or whatever, but kind of managed to force himself to make sure he got one of these last loan spots. And that combined with a goodbye message, that combined with his mum, that combined with an interview he did where he was basically criticising the fact, it's just, for me, it's at that point where it's just untenable. It just really is. You can't reintegrate that, I don't think. And I think it just leaves a bad taste.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you can, because, Willie Gnonto literally refused to play and put in a transfer request, and before you knew it, we were reintegrated and we were back amongst the fans' favourite after the whole crybaby banner that were put out there and all the rest of it. So, football's very fickle. It definitely could be. I hear you. I do, and I really don't want him back either. But I play devil's advocate with it. He is an experienced Premier League player that's now got 5 years of Premier League football behind him.
Don't you think we need better though? Like if your options on the left wing were, let's say, Ramazani and Harrison, one barely played in the Championship, and 2, his numbers are absolutely pathetic. Wouldn't you be concerned if that's what we left on the left wing? I'd be a little bit like, no, we need something better than that.
Again, I hear you, and I think I would want better than that, but I'm well aware of the position that we're in. Again, if you isolate Jack Harrison as an established Premier League, lower level Premier League player, in which he is, bear in mind, we can't argue with the fact that for the last 2 years he's been part of keeping Everton up. For the 2 seasons before we got relegated, he was part of keeping us up. He has got experience in and around that area of the table. if he'd never played for Leeds and we were signing somebody, yes, albeit with poor stats for the area of the pitch that he plays in, if we were signing somebody that had 5 seasons worth of Premier League games in a row under his belt and we were signing him for free, you'd be like, okay, yeah, I get it. It makes a bit of sense.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I just think if it comes down to the wing, you're looking at Ramazani or Harrison, I think I'd be a little bit concerned. But actually,
I get you.
It leads nicely onto another player that it's looking like they're going to come through the door. And it's a kind of, it stirs up, not a similar debate, but the question marks. And that's Sean Longstaff at Newcastle, who it's fascinating actually, because since it kind of broke last night about, it being very close, there's rumours now that Newcastle have accepted that 12 million bid as well. And it was just interesting to get the take of Newcastle players, because what seemed to be the overriding kind of picture of Sean Longstaff at Newcastle, and I was going to bring up Lewis's quote from the group actually, where it's like, player who gives his all, bit limited on the ball, but a great player to be around. I think Tonali is quoted as saying he's one of the most underrated players he's ever played with. But obviously, there was always going to be a section of Leeds fans that were going to be disappointed with it and think, "Oh, Sean Longstaff, is that it?" kind of thing. Me personally, I think it's a very, very canny signing. I think it's for 10, 12 million. You're talking about a guy that's made 170 Premier League appearances, and if you look at what people say about him and what he gives you, in this kind of building stage we're at in the Premier League, where we're trying to survive, fight, and hopefully progress, I can't think of many that you could take over him really in terms of that situation for that fee.
It's not sexy, is it? That's the problem for the fans. They're seeing Sunderland sign Diarra, somebody called Diarra, or somebody called Siddiqui, and then you look at Longstaff. It just doesn't sound sexy. But I 100% agree with you. If he wasn't English and ginger, it's just one of them, innit? It's unfortunate that's then. It kind of, in some fans' head, limits him as a footballer. You don't make 170 appearances for a club like Newcastle in the Premier League if you're a mug. You just don't. He's had enough about him to be an academy graduate there and come through, stake his claim, start games. I mean, this season just gone, he didn't start too many, but the season before, he started 30 Premier League games. He was basically a mainstay. And in that Newcastle side now that they've got 3 world-class midfielders, especially in Gomeres and Tonali. And then they've got an unbelievable youth prospect coming through in Lewis Miley. So, it's no reflection on him as a player that he is now, unfortunately, the club has outgrown him, and he needs to now find a move on. I think it's a terrific signing, and it might only be for 2 or 3 seasons that we get the most out of him, and then maybe he becomes a squad player for us towards the back end of his career. But I think he'd get the club. I think he's shown that he's capable of dealing with the pressures of the fan base and all the rest of it. Like I say, unbelievable experience, good age again. I think he's 26, 27. It falls right into that bracket. 1 year on his deal, so it's a great price. I can't understand what fans are wanting if they're unhappy with that. Like I said, you have to be realistic with where we are in this transitional kind of journey. This season is all about finishing 17th as a minimum. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's it. So, and players like Longstaff would help that. They would aid that. He if he was fit for every game of the season, he'd play every single game.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
A couple of comments on Longstaff. CB, Longstaff will be like Gruev, unspectacular but effective and does a good job.
I mean, I know CB's a point there. He's levels above Ilya Gruev. Levels. I know what he's saying, but in terms of the standard, I mean, he's a mid-table Premier League midfielder. We don't even really know if Gruev's going to play at all.
No, I'm going to ask you about Gruev actually, because it's interesting with him actually. Andy, Longstaff, solid signing, will do a good job for us. These are the players you need, well experienced. Yeah, hopefully that'll get done kind of by the end of the week, maybe going into the start of next week. Gruev, I mean, just interesting one on Gruev, isn't it? Because I think possibly there's talks of him being the one that, Leeds are willing to let go. I would be, when I think of like Gruev, the way he kind of moves and operates in the Premier League, I'm like, I would be seriously kind of worried about that. But I feel a bit harsh saying it, actually, because I like what he does. I like that kind of, when he came into the team this season and he was filling the gaps and recycling possession, and I enjoyed what he offered us, but I would be, you can't really, if you had to kind of bet on it, you wouldn't bet on him actually making a splash in the Premier League, really, would you? You'd be a bit concerned if he was your kind of, making too many appearances there.
It's the physical attributes that were in with him. He's slight. He reads the game extremely well, and I can understand why Dortmund would potentially have wanted him a year ago to fill a hole within a squad, especially in the team that are going to dominate games more often, because he can just kind of sit there and not have to do too much. Yeah. But in terms of his capabilities with his right foot, just get found out. He always has to position his body in a certain way to get it onto his stronger left foot. His pace, I mean, he's a bit of a turtle, isn't he? Like he is extremely slow on the ball, off the ball, in the turn. He's not great in the air. He's, like I say, he's not a physical presence. He's probably, for me, the one that I'd been most concerned about starting games for Leeds, based on what we've seen and know so far. Like, I think everybody else has kind of got something about them that could maybe get them by, and they've got the progression levels to keep on pushing up. I don't know where Gruev's levels are, because they're all physical stuff. The stuff that he can't really learn. You can't learn to be quicker. Not really. No. You could be a bit stronger, but and if he's not got the capabilities with his weak foot come this age, he's not going to get that. Like, you know what I mean? It's really difficult to improve them attributes that I'm talking about. So, yeah, again, it all depends on the feed, doesn't it? Because if we don't double the money like we would have done a year ago for selling him, you might as well keep him as an option and fill the squad out, because we need a squad.
Yeah, we do, indeed. Tom, I personally like Byram as a backup, but also understand why fans don't. Many of my mates think if Gudmundsson was to get injured, then Byram couldn't be relied on in the Premier League. Thank you very much for that, Tom. That does move us on to Sam Byram. He's got himself another year at Leeds, 31-year-old. Ticks boxes for homegrown quarters. Always did a very solid job in the last couple of seasons for Leeds. And, it's actually, when you look at what Byram did for us those 2 seasons, and I would say particularly the first season as well, where he came in and was able to fill in at left back, vital really that you had someone who was so kind of had so much variety to his game, could play on either flank, and always did, probably always 7 out of 10 really, 6-7 out of 10 consistent. He's getting another deal in the Premier League. I think we disagreed on our squad sell buy video. I think I had him down as get rid. You wanted to keep him around. He is sticking around. What say you, Sam Byram, Leeds in the Premier League? I mean, would you have him as a direct backup, the next to Gudmundsson or Bogle, or are you looking for another kind of filler in there as well?
I think there's another part to the cog of this in Isaac Schmidt, which we probably need to discuss when we're looking at both sides. But I'll just talk on Sam very quickly, before we go down that route. My reasons. Oh. the joys of live streaming. There you go. Yeah. Sorry, my phone's about to die, so I've had to plug it in and charge it. So let me see if I can probably I'll just hold it. My reasons for wanting to keep Sam were for many reasons. He's dependable. He, offers a homegrown quarter. You know what you're going to get with him. Like you say, he's a 6 or a 7 out of 10 every week without fail. He also, I think, has earned it. And I think there's a lot to be said for players that are going to be happy being on the training pitch of a certain standard that can come into cup games when you're desperate during the league for suspensions and injuries, and he won't kick up a fuss for sitting in the stands. He won't. Like, if his role with Leeds United in the Premier League is to be sat in the stands for 38 games and look after the team during training and help, fill that supporting role, and he'll be on peanuts, by the way. I think he were on £6,000 a week last season. He's probably on between that and 10 now with the new 1-year deal. They won't have broke the bank to keep him around. It's a no-brainer, and anybody getting upset about it, I just, again, don't think they're thinking about the bigger picture. Again, it's not sexy, but that's what it takes to fill a squad. And, in and around the training pitch, it means that means just as much in many ways, because you're preparing for the weekend. The first thing that we saw from pre-season training was Cairns, looking happy coming through the doors of the training pitch. He's not happy because he thinks he's going to be playing 38 Premier League games. He's happy because he's part of a Premier League squad and he understands his role. And that will make a massive difference to the players in and around. So I just don't understand people getting upset about it. I just don't. And so then the separate question is am I happy with him being the number 2 on the left side? Probably not. No. I would much rather see another left back come in and Sam being emergency backup, third choice for left back and right back. Now, the question could be, is Schmidt seen as the second choice for the left back and right back? Maybe. He's now a full Swiss international. He's playing for Switzerland when he's not playing for Leeds. Clearly, they see something in him. We've seen bits for him, and I think Daniel Farke doesn't trust him defensively. I think he sees him as a winger. Maybe during pre-season and when he's thought about it, maybe he can see a route to play him as a second choice in both them positions. But based on what the agent says, it looks like Schmidt's going to go out as well, probably on loan for a season somewhere to give him the best opportunity to play for Switzerland next year. So I would like to see another left back and right back, if I'm honest, or somebody that could do both. Kyle Walker-Peters on a free transfer as an example, somebody like him.
Yeah, well, apparently it's on the list. Apparently that is still an area that they're looking for. So I think it was in the YEP. The other positions they're still looking at is backup, fullback, goalkeeper, a striker. It did mention number 10 there as well, but we don't know how accurate that is. Now, this is fresh off the post, is this one. Speaking of physical attributes, now, just to be clear, that's not The Rock. That is Patrick Bamford.
Yeah.
Look at the guns on that, Jace. What has this guy been eating over the summer?
Well, I don't know if you've seen anything of Pat's content throughout pre-season.
He's been hammering it, hasn't he?
He's been absolutely on it. He was on the Fozcast. I don't know if anybody saw that. Really, really good interview. Yeah. Really enjoyed listening to him, and he made the point there that he was paying for his own personal trainer during the summer, and he was going to be absolutely on it, ready for the Premier League. And it was clear from the kind of vibes that we were getting that he was going after this season. I don't mean he was going after the season. He was going after this season. The season that we're in, he's going to go after it. So, fair play to him. Fair play to him, because I think he understands what's happened to him over the last couple of seasons. I think he understands that his options would be limited, if any at all, in the top flight. I think you'd be looking at a Wrexham, a Championship, a Birmingham, or an MLS route for Pat. But I think he wants to have one good, final swing at the Premier League. I mean, in that interview, we were talking about still having England aspirations. And he made the point that his game is better suited to the Premier League than the Championship. And I actually agree with him on that. I actually do agree with him on that. The problem with Pat isn't his attributes. It's whether the fitness and the injuries will hold up for him and whether he'll be able to be capable. But what he's done in pre-season is giving himself the absolute best possibility that he can to have a crack at it. I still want to see a 9 come in. I'm absolutely desperate to see a 9 come in. But if you're saying to me, we've got Metcher, Pat, Pirro, and then another that's going to come in and really make that difference in there, I'm all for it. If it's a fully fit Patrick Bamford, we know what he was capable of only 3 years ago. So who knows?
I know. Do you know what? It's funny actually, because I got to say, it looked so good when he came in the team at the end of last season.
Yeah,
Just those little small cameos where the ball just stuck to him like glue. It was like, the 17 goals Premier League, but Pat Bamford, his touch was sharp. He looked on it. And I don't know, part of me thinks he might, like you're saying, as that kind of further down the list choice, he might be all right. Who knows? I mean, I love that he's given himself that opportunity, and he clearly is going after it. And certainly, look, other teams might take notice of that, and maybe an offer will come in for him, and maybe he will leave. But again, similar to Firpo, really, it's like he leaves with a lot of goodwill now, and it's kind of a lot of that Premier League stuff, but the last year and stuff has kind of washed away. But yeah, I mean, blimey, the guns on that, Jace. I mean, Jesus, look at that. And Sam Byram's just there. I love it. But yeah, no, fair play to Pat. A couple other things just to get your take on as well, Jason. The new home kit reveal last year, and it was very low key, wasn't it? I don't know if you saw the kind of promo video for it, but it was kind of, a few people have been commenting kind of how low key it was, and yeah, it was just a bit meh. I found it, but I'm not that arsed actually. I don't need a song and dance about the kit or anything, and it's a white shirt, etc. But yeah, it's kind of not much hoopla around it really. What do you make of the kit itself? Are you a fan? Will you be getting it?
I probably will, because I always do. I'm a bit of a kit collector at the best of time. Never mind when it's a Leeds one. I've heard that it's better in person than it looks on video footage and photos and whatnot. But yeah, it has gone a little bit under the radar. But I'm a little bit like you. I kind of just, it is what it is for now. I'm so consumed with the team news and transfers and stuff that I've not really taken that much notice. I have seen the away shirt, a little bit off, like genuinely seen it, not just one of these. I know somebody that knows somebody that.
Okay.
Yeah, that fashioned it.
Black?
So I have. Say again.
Is it black?
It's dark. It's not black. It is still blue, but there's more detail on the front. It looks nice, but it's a little bit more wild than last year's away. And I have seen a yellow one as well, but I couldn't make out whether it was a training top or like a smart top or whether it was an actual shirt, because the badge was smaller and there was no sponsor. So I didn't know if that was the route that they were going to go down for the yellow alternative for this year, which would have been pretty cool. It reminded me of the one where Charlie Taylor always gets pictured in it, where there was no sponsor. It looked like that, very just yellow, and that's it. So yeah, I have seen that as well. So that's kind of exciting because I do like yellow.
Mate, get these pictures forwarded on to me. What are you doing? Keeping them yourself?
No, I haven't got them. So I was under sworn secrecy that I couldn't have it or really even talk about it that much. So I've just spoken about it online like this. but I wasn't sent the photos. I've just seen them through another phone.
Yeah, fair enough. One thing to cover as well, announced today that Leeds United have submitted a formal planning application to expand Ellen Road to 53,000 seats. So that's going through now as part of that redevelopment. The kind of one thing I take away from that is the club must have confidence, the ownership group must have confidence that Leeds can indeed stay in the Premier League this year. I'm almost a little bit surprised they're doing it. I would think that maybe you'd want to become more established before you kind of start pulling the triggers on it. But do you think it's just the length of time these things take anyway? Or is it just simply the belief that the 49ers have in being able to establish Leeds in the Premier League?
I think whether we went down this season or not, they would have still had to put this in the pipeline because, like you say, because of the time that it takes. You can't not do it when the future progression of the club kind of depends on it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't wait to see if survival gets hit this year because, the likelihood is that if we do go down, we'd be back up again next season. So you kind of have to just commit and go for it. I definitely do think that the 49ers will be expecting us to stay up this season, though. As part of that plan, it would definitely kibosh some of the earnings potential in the immediate 1, 2, 3 years if we obviously went down. So then given this as well, same for Everton. Everton couldn't have waited to see if they stay up every year to plan the new stadium, could they? You know what I mean? So it is a tricky one for the owners, but I think you just have to commit, don't you?
Yeah, indeed. Skip, evening, mate. Good to see you back as well. I didn't think a suspension carried over into another club in another country. Bijol saga missing the Everton game. Yeah, I saw this again. Someone saying that Bijol is going to miss the Everton game. Have we got kind of confirmation on that, by the way, or what's happening with that? Because I didn't think
I always
because it was 2 yellow cards, wasn't it? As well, it wasn't even.
And it were terrible 2 yellow cards as well. The second one was a horrendous decision. I've seen it. But I was always under the impression that General League bookings didn't cross over jurisdictions to different countries. The only thing that did would be worldwide bans. So, if you got banned because you punched a referee, that would be considered a worldwide ban for 8 games or whatever, and that would then carry over. But my understanding was that they didn't, but I could be wrong. I don't know. So I'd be surprised that we've not seen or heard of this before.
Yeah.
So it might not be Bijol starting the first game. It might be Bornau or could be. Good stuff. So before the end of the week, do you expect any more kind of transfer action? Do you think we'll get one more before the end of the week, Jess? I think Longstaff gets done tomorrow. Tomorrow, maybe Friday. And then I think we'll be into next week. I really want Milinkovic-Savic. He's the one that I would really like to see come through the door. To come through the door next, after Longstaff or before, whichever. As much as I think we need a 9, I'd like a 10. I want another midfielder. Considering the fact that we've probably signed Longstaff. I think the next position that we really need to solidify is that goalkeeper position, because the closer and closer game week 1 comes, the more nervous I get that we're going to see Ilan either reinstated into the team or we're going to start the season with Caldalo, and I can't believe either of them are going to be eventualities. I'd like to see the 6'8" free kick taking monster that is Milinkovic-Savic.
Have you seen as well? There were a stat going around where, do you know the aggregate thing for keepers, and like Mellier's always minus, he's always conceding more than he should have. Milinkovic is like plus 14.
Yeah, he's a monster.
He's a top 1 in Europe, and it's just ridiculous.
He had a massive season in Serie A last season, and Napoli were linked with him, but it looks like they're going for Rui Patricio now, ex-Wolves keeper. So he's kind of leaving us a gateway to take the jump with Milinkovic-Savic. I do think he's a little bit older, so I think that's probably putting some of the bigger teams off of him. I don't know his exact age, but whatever it is, 28. Yeah, so it's no age for a keeper, really, is it? I mean, like I say, he's a massive, massive presence. I think it'd be an absolute huge signing. Signing.
I did see, though, Joe Donahue in the YEP saying were not his. Let me get the actual thing that he said. 2 minutes. Bear with me. Where is it? Right. Okay. Yeah. So LUFC recruitment structure understood to be fans of the 6'8" keeper Milinkovic-Savic. However, the Serbian international has plenty of interest and player unlikely to choose Leeds. One of a number of goalkeepers on Leeds' list, including Lyon's Lucas Perry as well. So I'd love to see it, though. I hate it when, you get linked to an exciting play and it feels like it might be feasible, and then they just snatch it away, don't they?
It'd be a fun one. It'd be a fun one. Yeah,
that could be our free kick, and that we talked about earlier. Get those balls ripped in. Great.
Shame that he couldn't whip it into himself.
Yeah. Exactly. Jason, before we go then, anything else you want to cover off, mate?
No, I mean, we're going to be linked with loads more that we do and don't get before the end of the window, so I'm not getting too hung up on one name. It's just an exciting one that I would like is Milinkovic-Savic, but as we've seen with this window, it's ever evolving, it's ever changing. It does feel like the rumours are ramping up and they are close to the mark. I definitely don't think there's been much smoke without fire kind of stuff here. Like, you know, we have been in for all these players. We've signed a lot of them now. They're coming through the doors after weeks of us being linked. I mean, Gudmundsson's been on the radar for weeks and weeks. So yeah, they are moving, and I think some of the names are particularly exciting. I back the 49ers. I think they've got it right. I am interested to see a few more outgoings, because I'm surprised by the lack of outgoings so far. Verba the only one. So yeah, interesting to see, mate. And I'm sure by the time that we do it next week, it'll look completely different again.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's not too far away to the friendly against Man United either.
Yeah.
Is it? I think it's the 19th, isn't it, or something? So yeah, not long at all. Good stuff. Okay, well, we'll leave it there. Thank you, everybody who joined us live. If you've not done already, please do like the video, get subscribed to the channel as well. If you're watching this again later, get your comments in as well. What have you made of what we've discussed this evening? We will be back for more Leeds United Latest next week. There's going to be a few other bits and pieces on the channel as well. So we've got the non-league show going out later as well. And no doubt Gaz will have some Bradford City updates as well. But for me, Stephen Brown, I've been joined by Jason Book as well. Jason, thank you very much. And you'll have an internet connection next week, won't you? To your familiar position back as it should. Good stuff. Okay, we will see you then. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.